Good morning, everybody. Greetings to all our Connect Group leaders at Every Nation, London, or wherever you meet, wherever you're from. Just want to share some thoughts with you this morning to help you to run, to start up a great group, to run a great group in this season as we look to relaunching those groups again for September. Like many of you, Amanda, my wife, and I, we run a group here in our home. We meet every week and people come, we gather together and we grow as friends together, we grow in following Jesus together, we pray together and we do life together, all that kind of stuff. And we've taken a break over the summer period from our deliberate, regular meeting together kind of group. So we've kind of had this we've been away, other people have been away on holiday, and we've kind of got together and done connecting and done that life together, but now we're heading back into launching our group again so that we do that as normal. And the question that always comes up as we're heading towards this launch, or maybe you faced it as well when you're in your group, and sometimes maybe the numbers dwindle, or sometimes you have one of those group nights, which we've had some as well, where you plan your group and you sit there and nobody turns up that week. So the question I want to help you with today is, where do the people come from? When you are running a group, when you've signed up to run a group, to lead a group, or whether you've been doing that for a while, but that sometimes people move on and sort of like you're thinking, well, Lord, this group isn't quite like what I expected, and it's not, I think you've got more for us, but where do the people come from to come to our group? And obviously Jesus, when he called his disciples, Jesus did a lot of calling, didn't he? He called people up, he called them to follow him. He spoke to crowds, but then he called a group of people to himself that would be his disciples. So it always starts with that call. It starts with us responding to that call and being able to pass on that call to others. But Jesus, when he went and spoke to some of his disciples, he said, who were there fishing and with their boats and with their nets, he said, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." So for you as a leader, a huge part of what you do is just caring for people, getting together, helping people follow Jesus, pointing in the right direction, doing a measure of shepherding, just loving, just stirring it up, stirring one another up to love and good works, and praying together and all that sort of stuff, and just trying to do that God life together. But a part of what you do has to be calling people up, be yourself being a fisher of men, and stirring that up in your group as well. But very practically, just a few quick thoughts on when I'm a fisher of men, what does that look like, and where do these people come from? Because I think often when we think about being a fisher of men, I don't know about you, but especially as it translates into groups, we can think that being a fisher of men is like this big net. So we've got this church, it's a big boat, and it's got this big net out, and somehow people will arrive in that net, and our job as group leaders is to just somehow get hold of those people who've been in the net, or maybe they're pointed to us, or maybe some pastor speaks to us and just connects us with somebody, and that person ends up in our group, and kind of we've done our fishing. And that does happen. That definitely is a part of church life. But I think often fishing for us, especially in our culture, is not so much the big net, the big event, the big service that just brings people in and they're just caught up in this net and they're saved, and then they just need to find places to connect. As I said, sometimes that happens. But I think for us in our culture, very often fishing is more like line fishing. Now, I went fishing a couple of years ago with a group of guys, and we went sea fishing, and we were fishing around wrecks, and we were fishing in shoals of fish as well, sort of, when we struggle to find some fish and we want to go somewhere easy to catch some. But we were on a boat all together, and if you look around the boat, everybody was all around the sides with their lines in the water, fishing, and some people would get their lines stuck on the wreck when we were around there, and they needed a bit of help, and sometimes the lines would get tangled together and create a bit of mess, and sometimes somebody would catch a fish and we would celebrate that together. But if you can view that kind of picture, that's, especially in our culture, a lot more what leading a group and being a fisher for men is like. All of us have our lines out off one side of the boat. We can have our lines in different places, and what we're trying to do is together be a people who are fishing for men. And talk about fishing for men and women, and obviously we are there to make disciples. That's about reaching the lost, but it's also just about people who are kind of in this sea, but not actually in a group, not in a boat. They're kind of lost at sea, and they're looking for places to connect. So very quickly, 3 places where you can think about as a group leader, how can I find people that need what we're doing in our group, that want it as well, that desire it, but how can I get them connected in? Number 1, in meetings. So in our church meetings, I can tell you every week, because I look around, because I speak to people, there are people in our meetings who are not in groups. They would probably like to be in groups. Some of them definitely need to be in groups. Some of them have some practical challenges on when and where and all those sorts of things. But there are people who need to be in groups. There are people who come down and are prayed for every week. Not every, but they come down for ministry, and part of the answer to what they need is they need to be in a group of people who just help them. They can be real with, they can grow in following Jesus together, they can do life together like that. So in our meetings, and that's our main meetings, and in those meetings you can look around the room, sometimes you look around the theatre, and you can see people who are sitting on their own, and generally those people will be people who are not in groups and would be hungry for a group, would want to be in a group if somebody would just go up and ask them. So if you're looking to start your group and you are looking to add more people, where can you start? We're looking around our meetings, seeing who comes down the front for ministry and isn't connected, seeing who sits on their own and isn't connected. So that's firstly in our meetings. Secondly, in the foyer. Now, again, there are people in our foyer who meet together, who talk together. I can tell you from doing some of that mingling every week that we have guests most weeks who come along, or we have people who've been coming along to church recently who are not in a group. And again, part of their spiritual walk, part of their growing in God, part of that would be they will benefit from finding a group. So if you will break out of just the people you usually speak to in that foyer, and also have a look round for people who are either standing on their own or standing talking to other people but you don't recognise them, or even people, if you get out into the foyer early as the service finishes, people who kind of make a bolt for the stairs, make a bolt for the door, and they're kind of looking a little bit uncomfortable and heading out. Those people are recent people into our church who'd love to be in a group but need somebody to step over and ask them. So that's in the meetings, in a foyer, and finally, last one, is in our world. In our world, we are here to be, the Bible talks about keeping open house, the Bible talks about us being the light of the world, being a city on a hill, and for your group, and stir that up in your group, be a people who pray together for your community, be a people who engage with your world, with your neighbours, with your people in your workplace, and some of those are just looking for a place to get connected, looking for a place to belong, looking for Jesus, looking for some spiritual answers to spiritual questions they have, and they will come to your group if they ask. Now, some people that's a long journey, some people that's a short journey, and you can look at what you can do as a group together. Some of those people will come to like special events, social events, barbecues, connect events that you might run as a group before every week, but just have it in your mind, those 3 circles: in the meetings, in the foyer, in our world. And finally, don't be a fisher alone. I spoke about us being in that boat together, all with our lines in the water. Some being better at fishing than others, but you as a group leader, if you take all of that responsibility on your own shoulders to do it all, that you're not going to be able to deliver it, and it's not meant to be that way. So what you can do as a leader is just stir up that idea, pray into it together as a group, be a people who together grow in being fishers of men, people together who look in our meetings, in the serving teams they're on, in the foyer, and go into our world and pray that God will do something. And then we will see, as happens in Acts 2, as the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, the Lord added daily to those who were being saved. So I hope this is helpful. I pray you'll have a great time in your groups. I pray that God will do something significant in this season. I pray that He will strengthen you, and you will do all of your leadership and your labours according to His power at work in you. Be blessed.